Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome here to our 11th race of the second season of the NNSCRA Duracell Cup Series. I am a sniffling Seth, trying to fight allergies here, but right here still to bring you tonight's event from the Texas Motor Speedway. This is the AAA Texas 500. Now, this race and this venue was race number 21 during the second half of the regular season last year. It is race number 11 this year, so a scheduled change for Texas Motor Speedway. And we'll see how it comes into play, because this is one of our tracks that's actually one of our races that's going to play into possibly a driver making it into this season's All-Star race. The interesting fact about this, too, is last week we came off the heels of Pikes Peak, and the defending winner of that race was Zach Rogers. Of course, taking the checkered flag last week, though, was Alexander Rowe, the first rookie to win this season. But coming here into Texas, we're coming into another track where Zach Rogers is the defending winner. When he took the checkered flag, I believe it was his second win of his Duracell Cup Series career. But of course, comparing last year to this year, it's back-to-back races here that we're coming to that he was the defending winner. He ended up winning those two races about roughly 15 races apart from each other last season. But nonetheless, as we get ready here for tonight's race, Texas native Chris Dollarton will line up on the pole position. Dollarton, of course, the defending champion of this series as well. And coming into this race, still struggling in the point standings. It's not been great for Dollarton. He is dead last in the points. And so maybe here at his home track he'll be able to bounce back. But, like I said, I've said it the last 3 weeks, he didn't start getting good finishes until the second half of the regular season, so I don't think it's time to panic just yet. Let's go down and get the command.
Drivers, start your engines!
He starts alongside of Zach Rogers, who's ninth in the point standings, still looking for his first win of the season, and as we said, he's the defending winner of this race. You see the starting lineup on the right side of your screen, your top 10, the points coming into this race. Ryan Acosta is your points leader once again. He took the points lead away from Mitchell Collins last week after Pikes Peak. Carson Gum jumped up to second. He's only 5 points out of the top spot. Mitchell Collins is currently now in third. He's only 7 points out. Jordan Lopez in fourth. He is 8 points back. 12 points back rather, is Carter Friesen. He is fifth in points. Right here, top 10 in the standings. Seth Cole is sixth. Austin LaPlante has jumped up into the top 10. He is seventh. Eighth is Benjamin Miles. Zach Rogers, we mentioned, is ninth. And Matt Haas completes your top 10. Onboards today, should we need them. Your pole sitter, Chris Dollarton, is the Ford onboard camera driver with the Dr. Pepper sponsorship. Another Texas native, Carson Gum, is the Chevy designated onboard driver with the Toontown rewritten onboard cam. Then you've got Dodge onboard camera of outside front row driver Zach Rogers, the defending winner of this race. He's got the Corn onboard camera. Benny Watson is the Toyota driver with the Hers onboard camera. And carrying our helmet cam here tonight is Carter Friesen. And the helmet cam tonight sponsored by El Gato. Different track, different Texas than what we were at last year, because last year's Texas had some pit road glitches. We are under the lights nighttime racing here tonight. Everything's bigger in Texas. Let's roll in the Lone Star State. Boy, Michael Norman looked like he wanted to step out for the race lead, but William Brock got a run on him out of turn 2, so the battle is on for second. Dollarton looks like he'll hang on, get the bonus point for leading the first lap of the evening. Running the 2019 rules package, you can definitely tell that, as they are going about 193 to 195 on the straightaways. Only getting down to about 191 in the corner. So they are flying around this racetrack. And here comes Keith Batson for the race lead. He's definitely flying because he's got some Blue Angels on the hood of that Ford Mustang. And he will lead this lap. Kyle Matthews right behind him, our winner from Phoenix. Matthews comes into this race currently 30th in the point standings. We mentioned last week at Pikes Peak about a lot of our former winners this season being down near that danger zone of 30th in the standings. And a couple of drivers last week managed to get good enough finishes to get away from that spot. Trey Wright managed to move up. He's now 18th in points. Cole Baker moved up to 22nd, but there's still a lot of drivers that are down near that danger zone. Ryan Brommer, our winner from Sonoma, he is down in 25th. You've got Michael Norman, our Springfield winner, down in 27th. Jose Mills is down in 28th, our Bristol winner. Kyle Matthews, the car we're looking at right now, who's going to battle with Benny Watson. He is right now in the 30th position in points. Alexander Rowe, now obviously he was down near the very bottom of the point standings before his win last week at Pikes Peak, as we've got a caution out for the first time tonight. But Rowe is now up to 35th in points, or 34th rather, and Wyatt Quayle, our Las Vegas winner, continues to drop in the standings. He currently is 35th. Right now, the only drivers that really coming into this race with a win that look like they are in any way poised to be contenders for the championship are Carson Gum and Jordan Lopez, 2nd and 4th in points. Trey Wright, oh boy, we were just talking about him, 18th in the standings. He's on pit road. He was involved in our first caution along with rookie Marcus Sacchi in the 21. A lot of damage as well on another rookie, that's Casey Nanico, the 77 out of AJR. Jessica Shelton's got some rear end damage on the Boxy Chevrolet. Dylan Young's been collected. Matt Haas, a lot of damage on his Speed Raceway Toyota Camry. He had just jumped up into the top 10 in points, moving up 12 spots in the standings last week. And we got some more drivers with damage coming to pit road. Seth Cole, Michael Norman, his teammate Cody Lamas, Adam Garcia, Ryan Brommer also on the pit lane. Race leaders did not come to pit road. Only drivers that did were drivers involved in the wreck. Let's go back and see what brought out the first caution of the evening here at Texas. We're watching the 18 of Michael Norman, and obviously Michael Norman felt he had a problem heading here into the second crook of the dogleg front straightaway. See right there, he's already backing off. He's already slowing down. I think he might have cut down a right front or something, because that car just went straight, bounced off the wall, back down into Benjamin Miles and Seth Cole. And the bad thing is, it happens entering into a corner, which means what goes down is going to come up with the progressive banking, and it's going to block up the racetrack. And you see right here, Seth Cole, Miles, and Norman all back up the track. Adam Garcia gets a piece right there. Got Seth Cole and Miles and Michael Norman. So we got all three of them. And there you see Marcus Sacchi trying to slow down. Ryan Brommer never slowed. He runs into the 21. There's Mitchell Collins. Cody Lamas going to get hit from behind by Matt Haas. Oh, Carter Friesen got a piece of it there in the 37. Dylan Young gets hit from behind by Trey Wright. Ryan Butcher might have gotten a piece of it. I'm not certain. One car that I do not see involved in this wreck that did come down pit road with damage is Jessica Shelton, so we're going to have to follow up on that. But first, let's go back. Oh, and also Casey Nanico I don't see as well. Maybe Nanico and Shelton were involved in a stack-up maybe under pacing. But first, let's take a look at our helmet cam on board with Carter Friesen, see what he saw in this wreck. And I've just realized this was not the wreck that brought out the caution. This wreck was a follow-up wreck afterwards, so we're going to have to go back and find out the original reason the caution came out, but let's take a look at this onboard with Carter Friesen. See, the caution's already waving. And you see Carter was trying to slow down. He was downshifting the car all the way to first gear, trying to hope that the brakes would take to the track so he could slow down in time, but he couldn't. So you see he's got some damage there on the front. We'll see if he'll still be able to continue or not. So what we saw was a follow-up wreck. This is what actually brought out the caution. Hairy situation off turn 2. Adam Garcia is going to brush the wall. Shelton's going to go to the middle, and you got rookie Derek Hamill down on the inside. Oh, and right there, I don't know if Shelton came up and crowded the 12 or not, but it's going to hook her around right in front of about half the field. There's where Ryan Brommer gets a piece of this one, and it shoots the car up the track, and there's nowhere for these drivers on the outside line to go. Vince Almriego and Casey Nanico, they were already committed to the high side, and when Shelton's car snapped back up, I mean, where else are you going to go? You can't go any higher. There's a safer barrier there. So Vince Almriega was another driver collected up that we didn't know about. And so this is actually what brought out the yellow flag. The other thing was a follow-up wreck, and so now I'm not certain if it was a tire that went down on Michael Norman, or if maybe he tried to hit the brakes to slow down and the car just snapped around on him. I mean, we saw with Carter Friesen trying to slow down to avoid the wreck that the brakes aren't working all that great here tonight, and so that might have been the issue for the 18 that led to that follow-up wreck over in turn 1. But this is what brought out the caution originally here tonight for the first time at Texas. Let's go back for the restart. The lights are out atop the pace car. We're going to go back green on lap 9 of 51. We have 4 drivers at this point that are out of the race. And pretty much all 4 of them were drivers that in one way or another sustained quite a bit of front end damage. Marcus Sachi, we saw that he got run into by, was it Ryan Brommer, I thought? He's out of the race. Matt Haas is out of the race after we saw he had a lot of damage. Also, Casey Nanico and Vince Almriega, who were 2 drivers caught up in the wreck that actually did bring out the caution. Trey Wright was on pit road for an extended amount of time, so he is 2 laps down. There you see he will line up on the inside line. Not certain if he's up to speed or not. He got a little piece of the follow-up wreck over in turn 1. Don't know if that's going to have him off the pace or not. Top 10 as we get ready to go back. Green flag racing here. Kyle Matthews out in front. Benny Watson lines up second. Pole sitter Chris Dollerton third. Points leader Ryan Acosta now up in the 4th position. Matthew Rodriguez trying to bounce back from losing a spot inside the top 10 last week at Pikes Peak. He's in 5th. William Brockett's in 6th. 7th, Cole Baker. 8th place, Levi McIntyre. Then it's Keith Batson and Sebastian Kukul on your top 10s. The green flag is back in the air. Driver, this is really going to hurt in the point stands as far as those 4 that DNF'd is going to be Matt Haas, who, as we mentioned before that caution, jumped up 12 spots in the standings last week at Pikes Peak to 10th in points. This will probably drop him back out of the top 10 in the standings. But we had a spirited battle between Matthews and Watson before that caution came out. Looks like they're going to resume it here as Watson again looking for the race lead. We're actually about to head into a 1-year anniversary to Benny Watson's only Duracell Cup Series win, as next week we're going to be going to Darlington for one of my favorite races, the Throne of Games 500, where you'll see a number of these drivers piloting machines that'll be sponsored by video games, board games, just games. One of 2 special races that we're running this season. We ran it last year, and also Kentucky going to play host to a movie race in the second half of the regular season. Toyota battle at the front. Here comes Matt Rod. Matthew Rodriguez in the 57. Of course, Matthew Rodriguez, a former winner in the Duracell Cup Series as well, but his win last year, which was at Arizona Speedway, came during the chase, so he was not able to make it into the playoffs. And last week was a bump in the road for him, not a good run at Pikes Peak, and he headed into that race 6th in points. He dropped to 15th after that event was over, so trying to bounce back here. There's Levi McIntyre there in the 99. Now, definitely a much different season for Levi McIntyre this year than it was last year. Last year, Levi McIntyre was the guy we talked about week after week that was up atop the point standings, but just couldn't find victory lane. This season, however, Levi McIntyre finds himself down in the 32nd position in points. As far as wins, though, he still has a 0 in the career column, and we'll see if maybe here tonight he can get it done. And look who's up here right now, Alexander Rowe. The first rookie to ever capture a Duracell Cup Series checkered flag, as last week he took the checkered flag at Pikes Peak. He also moved himself up to 34th in points, and so now he's looking for one of 2 things. He's either looking for consistent finishes to get up into the top 30 in points so he can make it into the playoffs, or he'd love to be able to go to victory lane a second time here tonight and be a back-to-back winner in the Duracell Cup Series. I mean, what a feat that would be for a rookie driver. Look at this. I like this. That outside line has got some run. Matthew Rodriguez been able to hold court for the moment with Kyle Matthews. in a battle for the race lead, and you see right there he still is able to hang on that top side. That was one of the reasons why we went to the Texas we did last year, but as I mentioned, that Texas had a pit road glitch during green flag pit stops, which is why we changed the venue, changed the version that is. 3 wide for third, Charles Sanford making an appearance up here towards the front. Now remember, the last time Kyle Matthews out in front in a race, Charles Sanford was up in the second position. That was back at Phoenix. Sanford eventually finished that race, I believe it was in the third spot as Shelton got second. Oh, we got a spin back there. That was Zach Rogers spinning down to the inside, and there is no caution. He'll get their car refired, but Zach Rogers went around off somebody's nose down towards the inside wall. Looks like he might have tapped it with the back of his machine. There is no yellow, though. We are still green flag racing. Tough break there for Zach. 9th in the points, and of course we mentioned the defending winner of this race a little less than a year ago, as of course this race is 10 races earlier this season than it was last year. How about the points leader Ryan Acosta? He's now up in that third position. Battle between Jack Mitchell and Johnny Gardner for 4th place. How about Johnny? Nice to see him having a good run. Johnny Gardner, I think most of the times that I've mentioned him this season, it's because he's been involved in a wreck. It's great to actually mention his name of being competitive. He comes into this race 38th in points. You've actually got it up here right now inside your top 10, 38th, 39th, and 40th in points. Gardner 38th, Jack Mitchell 39th, and Chris Dollerton 40th. And we mentioned about Wyatt Quayle, our Las Vegas winner, way down there, 35th in points coming into this race, needing a good run to get himself up there into a playoff spot, and he's currently now in the 6th position. And look at that, Jesse Turner. Good run there for the 47. Turner, a 2-time winner of the Duracell Cup Series. His first career win came in Atlanta back in Season 1. That was a D-shaped 1.5 miles, much like Texas. Jose Mills. Good run for him here tonight. Our Bristol race winner coming into this race 28th in the standings. And looking competitive at least here this evening. A 5-time Duracell Cup Series winner. The most of any driver in Duracell Cup Series competition. But Kyle Matthews been doing a good job since he took the lead. Nobody's really been able to challenge him. He had a challenge from Benny Watson earlier on as the dogs are barking. Dogs, if you please, could you stop? I'm commentating. They're not listening to me. Alright, but anyway, Kyle Matthews really has turned back everybody else. I don't know if there's been more of a battle for second going on or if just nobody's strong enough to get up to the 0-9. And look at there, Jose Mills using that outside line again. Much like we saw Matthew Rodriguez do. And he's going to clear Ryan Acosta for second and crosses over to the inside of Kyle Matthews for the race lead. I must have a cursed tongue or something, because I mentioned something not happening, and then it happens. I just mentioned Kyle Matthews has been able to hold back everybody, and just like that, Jose Mills mounts a challenge and takes the race lead. Oh, and now I know why my dogs were barking. Their yellow Labrador Retriever friend was going by, and they love to bark at that dog. Ryan Acosta now on the back bumper of Jose Mills. Ryan Acosta. So many times he has finished in the second position in Duracell Cup Series competition. He's still looking for his first win, and he comes into this race the points leader, so you know he's been consistent this season. He just hasn't been able to find victory lane. And how about Cole Baker? Baker now up in that 4th position, now trying to take 3rd from Chris Dollerton. We saw his teammate Seth Cole was on pit road. Of course, Seth Cole's got crash damage from the only caution we've had so far this evening. But Cole Baker, Daytona 500 winner, realizing the gravity of his situation last week as he came into the Pikes Peak race in the 28th position in points, just 2 positions ahead of 30th in the standings. He's now 22nd in the points and looks like he'll continue to climb. Definitely the good run that he needs to keep his hopes alive of making it into this season's playoffs. A couple new faces popping up inside of the top 10. How about the 48 of Austin LaPlante? Good run for him here this evening. LaPlante comes into this race 7th in the point standing, so he's definitely been consistent, but kind of under our radar. So nice to see him having a good run here. LaPlante, of course, with the win last year at New Hampshire in front of his home crowd. And I'll tell you, a driver that faded back, and that was Kyle Matthews. Looks like he finally got himself back down to the bottom lane, but not before dropping all the way from the lead back to 14th place. He's now tucked in front of his teammate Charles Sanford. Another driver up here that we haven't talked about this evening. Well, I thought he was up here. Where did he go? There he is, 88 of William Brock, another driver out of Northeast Motorsports. William Brock comes into this race 11th in points, just outside the top 10. Battling with Matthew Rodriguez. Oh, we got trouble! Several cars around back there. One was Charles Sanford, one was Chris Dollerton, and there were some others collected up, and this one's going to bring out a caution. As just when Jose Mills was coming to pit road from the lead. Ooh, I don't know if he's going to get penalized or not. Shelton and Lamas were on pit road a lap earlier. Caution is out. That turns the race lead over to Ryan Acosta, and the red light was on for pit road. Jose Mills was not yet committed to the pit lane, and I don't know if this is going to cost him or not. That might be an error on the part of the crew chief, not stating the caution was out, telling Jose Mills to stay out, or else. Here's the question. Did Jose Mills absolutely have to pit? Jose Mills might have had to come to pit road. These guys might have just been on the verge of going into green flag pit stops, and Jose Mills might have run out if he had stayed out that extra lap, perhaps. Saving grace for these drivers of the timing of this caution, because now they get to come to pit road under yellow rather than under green flag conditions, although we're not racing at the Texas Spring 2017, so they wouldn't have to worry about a pit road glitch. Let's follow this battle here on pit road, see who's going to come out with the race lead as we are just past the halfway point of this race. Somehow, though, with them pitting here around lap 28, with us going back green on lap, what was it, lap 8? I don't think this is the last pit stop these drivers are going to have to make here this evening. We still may see more pit stops take place. Looks like Jose Mills is going to pass all these drivers, so I guess he will still cycle around as the race leader. So this is actually the battle for second on pit road, and Ryan Acosta will get it with Cole Baker, Austin LaPlante. Looks like Levi McIntyre will be our top 5 when we go back green flag racing. For now, let's go back. We're first going to see what happened to Zach Rogers, because that spin on the back straightaway did not bring out the caution, and then we'll take a look at the wreck on the back stretch with Charles Sanford, Chris Dollerton, and others that did bring out this yellow flag for the second time this evening here at Texas. And I don't know if I mentioned it or if I cut my own self off when I was talking about Jose Mills coming to pit road, but this caution coming out is a big break for Zach Rogers, who did manage to keep himself on the lead lap after this spin. Let's see what happens. Chris Dollerton way up the racetrack there. I'm assuming something happens with him and Kukulon. Yep. Contact between the 33, or 43 rather, and the 1. Sends them down into Zach Rogers, who was just minding his own business. He gets hooked in the right rear quarter panel and sent down to the inside wall. There you see that little kiss to the inside safer barrier. Fortunately, it was the rear of his race car. If it was the front, could have done some pretty detrimental damage to the mechanics there around the engine compartment. Slides it down then. I'm surprised he didn't throw the caution, because he did have part of his race car above that white line. But NNSCRA officials feeling that he was out of the way, it wasn't violent enough a hit to warrant a yellow flag, so Zach Rogers continued on. Luckily for him, his tires held up too, because that was a pretty long spin. I'm surprised he didn't flat spot those Goodyears. But very lucky for him, he managed to remain on the lead lap and gets the aid of the caution, which we're going to take a look at now. Well, this is ironic. Okay, remember the first caution? The first caution was caused with contact between the 43 and the 1. Well, take a look at this. 43 goes wide. 43 almost had it happen again, but he instead sweeps up Derek Hamill and Wyatt Quayle. Kukulon in the 1 takes out Charles Sanford and spins him around. He then goes up and gets into Jack Mitchell as well. Chris Dollerton looks like he nosed it into that inside wall. Driver's side damage for Derek Hamill. I don't think Wyatt Quayle got a lot of damage. Ooh, look at Hamill trying to squeeze his way past Charles Sanford, and somebody else is spinning up here. Oh, that's still the one of Sebastian Kukulon. So how ironic is that? the drivers that got together, that got Zach Rogers and it didn't bring out the caution, Kukulon and Dollarton, end up being the two that make contact with other drivers in this one that does bring out the caution. Dollarton taking Derek Hamill and Wyatt Quayle with him, and Sebastian Kukulon involving Charles Sanford and Jack Mitchell. So that's rather ironic, I think. Really strange. And obviously Chris Dollarton does not have a car to his liking, because that was the second time we saw him up in that third groove where there's really not a whole heck of a lot of grip. You're only up there if you can't have your car hold the bottom. So our pole sitter apparently with a very ill-handling race car, and now he's got damage as well. We're going to take a couple of onboards now. We're going to take an onboard first with Zach Rogers back on that earlier incident, and then we're going to take an onboard with Chris Dollarton in this incident, bringing out the caution flag. Alright, here we are on board with Zach Rogers. Let's see what he saw. Did he even see the contact on his right rear? We're about to find out the answer to that question. Maybe in his rearview mirror he was able to see it, but with our onboard camera we couldn't see it until after the 43 was into his right side. And now on board with Texas native and our pole sitter Chris Dollarton. Let's see how hard of a hit he took into that inside wall. That was pretty good contact, not only with the inside wall, but also with the 31 of Derek Hamill. I don't know if he's going to continue or not, but I don't think this is going to have him up to speed, and he was up inside of the top 10. Ill-handling race car and all, he was still trying to be a competitor. Well, the timing of that caution could not have been any better for Jose Mills. He did come to pit road. Yes, the caution lights were on. Yes, the red light was on pit road. But because he was down on the apron and had committed to pit lane, he was allowed to come down pit road and get service. And so Jose Mills, when everybody else came to pit road, cycled around to the race lead. Ryan Acosta will be second with Cole Baker, Austin LaPlante, Levi McIntyre top 5. Benny Watson, Jesse Turner, Keith Batson, Carson Gum, and Matthew Rodriguez. That's your top 10. There will be traffic to deal with, though. Jessica Shelton and Cody Lamas came to pit road. They managed to be on the tail end of the lead lap, but they were stuck behind the pace car. Seth Cole, I'm not certain if he's on the lead lap or not. Yeah, he is too. So they are on the tail end of the lead lap, and they will restart ahead of the leader, along with Trey Wright, who was 2 laps down. Important piece of news, everybody involved in the wreck on the back straightaway still running and still on the lead lap. Nobody DNF'd from what brought out our second caution. And the battle for the race lead is on with slower cars ahead. Ryan Acosta is going to take the top position away from Jose Mills, who's trapped on that outside line behind his teammate Trey Wright in the 28. And now that outside line is filled with Seth Cole and Trey Wright, so Jose Mills is going to have a doozy of a time trying to get himself back down to the bottom. And speaking of the bottom, Cole Baker to the inside of Ryan Acosta for the lead. Cole Baker picked up his first Duracell Cup Series victory with the Great American Race Daytona 500. He'd love to pick up his second one here this evening. Talked about Chris Dollarton, Texas native. Hardship here tonight with that damage he got on the front of his race car involved in the last caution. But how about another Texas native, Carson Gum? Working his way up here towards the front, and don't forget, Carson Gum took the checkered flag at a D-shaped 1.5 miles this year when he won at Atlanta. So Carson Gum could very well be one that we have to look at here this evening as well at another D-shaped 1.5 mile racetrack. And I think probably given the choice to winning at Atlanta and winning at Texas, I think he would pick Texas because his home crowd is here. It's kind of ironic because you've got 2 former Atlanta winners side by side there with Turner and Gum. And here comes Matthew Rodriguez now 3 wide for the race lead. He's got his teammate Matt McIntyre in tow. How about Matt McIntyre? I was looking at the points coming into this race, and Matt McIntyre has really been a pleasant surprise. Last week, after the race at Pikes Peak, he jumped up 11 spots in the standings. He is 13th in the points coming into this one. Definitely a far cry from the hardships he had last season out of the Michael Norman Motorsports stables. Here comes Alexander Rowe trying to be a back-to-back winner as a rookie. And Kyle Matthews, who we saw out in front earlier, he's now back up in the top 5. How about Ryan Butcher there in the 78? First time we've seen him up towards the front tonight. As Alexander Rowe has cleared for the race lead. Johnny Gardner back here, he's got some left side damage on his 14, but that's not slowing him up none. He's up inside the top 10. And how about James Qualls? A great run for him in the 54. Right behind his teammate. Well, this is an interesting battle. Ryan Butcher trying to pass Alexander Rowe in the 24, the ride that he drove to victory lane at Pensacola last season. And just like that, that battle dissipates as now Cole Baker will go to the inside for the second position. And we're starting to see now again, as this run starts to go a little bit longer and the tire heat starts to pick up, that outside line getting some advantage. Wow! Ryan Butcher turning that wheel hard to the left as he cleared Baker on the outside line and now drives to the inside for the lead on Alexander Rowe. Here comes James Qualls now for third place. Woo, we almost had contact back there. Charles Sanford forcing the issue 3 wide. Jack Mitchell tried to throw the block, thought better of it. And here comes James Qualls' teammate Ryan Acosta, who's been up front most of the evening. Opportunity for the teammates to work together. Got a lot of Toyotas up here. The 78, the 54, the 10, the 75, all up here battling. Then you got the Chevrolets of Cole Baker and Alexander Rowe as Butcher will go to the race lead. Ryan Butcher last season, we mentioned, he won in the 24 car for Northeast Motorsports at the Pensacola Road Course, but his finishes were not consistent enough for him to get a playoff position. This year, a little change of scenery, went to his own team with Toyota Camrys, teammate rookie Casey Nanico, and now in the number 78, would love to be able to go to victory lane here tonight, maybe be able to make the playoffs for the first time in his Duracell Cup Series career. Alexander Rowe right behind him though, and he's going to cross to the inside, slingshotting for the lead. Here comes Ryan Acosta, making it a 3-man fight, and don't count out that 75 of Benny Watson. Benny Watson had a great run at Sonoma. He struggled the following week at Michigan, but then last week had another good run at Pikes Peak. He comes into this race 21st in the point standings. And here comes Matthew Rodriguez as well in the 57. Jack Mitchell back up here again in that McDonald's Chevrolet. When they hit the line, it'll be 8 laps to go. I think with the number of caution laps we had under pacing before going back green, I think these drivers are now good to go the rest of the way on fuel. I don't think they will have to pit in the closing stages. I questioned that, not realizing that they were going to run as many pace laps under caution as they did. Alexander Rowe crosses over, tries to get to the left rear quarter panel to pull the 78 back to him. He'll try and use the side draft down the back straightaway here. And look at Benny Watson and Matthew Rodriguez, both with big runs. They're now back up here into the fight. Jose Mills, we saw up front earlier. He's still back here looming. Don't count out him because he's always up there towards the front, it seems, late in these races. And how about Carter Friesen? Remember, he got damaged from the follow-up wreck of our first caution. He's up in the 12th spot. What a comeback for him. You can still see he's got that buckle on the hood, but not letting that faze him at all. Battle for second. Matthew Rodriguez and Alexander Rowe. The guy that's got to be having a big smile on his face right now is Ryan Butcher, seeing the battling going on for second place rather than for the race lead, which he currently holds. But if Matthew Rodriguez can clear Rowe, that might allow him to close back up on that 78, and he has Alexander Rowe cleared off of turn 2. Now Matt Rod hunting down that 3M Toyota Camry. It's Camrys 1, 2, 3 right now with James Qualls in that third position. All three of these drivers hungry for a victory. And Matt Rod with a big run down the D-shaped front straightaway. He'll make the move for the lead into turn 1. Look at Jose Mills drive it deep on Qualls for 3rd place. And Matt McIntyre's now back up in the mix. He's in the 5th position, looking for 4th. 3 wide maybe for the race lead. Jose Mills says yes indeed. He's going to put Matt Rod in the middle. Butcher way up to the top side. Who's going to lead the lap? It's going to be Matthew Rodriguez, but here's Jose Mills down to the bottom for the race lead. Here's Matt McIntyre, Levi McIntyre. It's a McIntyre train behind the Aquafina Ford of Jose Mills, who clears for the top position with about 3.5 to go. Now Matt McIntyre going to clear into 2nd place perhaps. Levi McIntyre trying to get there, not going to be able to do it. You see Matt McIntyre ran the middle groove through 3 and 4, so he's going to have a good run here on the front straightaway. He may make the crossover move into turn 1. Here he comes to the bottom. Matt McIntyre, the most competitive he looked last season that I can recall was back at Richmond. But Keith Batson was a little stronger and was able to take that victory. Matt McIntyre still looking for his first win of his Duracell Cup Series career. Not quite able to get the inside of Jose Mills this time by. Maybe he'll have some help from those Camrys behind him. Ryan Acosta is there. James Qualls is there. Trying to get the run again here on the front straightaway. Not going to quite be able to do it. He's going to have to maybe wind up the rubber band and try again here on the back straightaway. See him use the slingshot there. Can he get to the left rear quarter panel down here into 3? Yes, he can. And he's got drafting help on the bottom. You wouldn't think you need draft here, but you do with this rules package. Side by side between Mills and McIntyre at the line. White flag in the air. 1 lap to go. Ooh, Mills got the wall a little bit there going into 1. McIntyre down to the bottom. He's got Qualls behind him. Ryan Acosta's up top side with the 98. These two are going to battle it out for the win, I think, going to the start-finish line. Can McIntyre pull ahead in 3? He's got the advantage. Mills battles back on the top side. It's going to be a photo finish at Texas. Mills, McIntyre, drag race to the line. Oh, it's too close to call. They say it's McIntyre! Holy cow! I thought it might be Mills, but McIntyre! How close was that? That had to have been dead even. It had to have been. I didn't see any clear advantage. But Matt McIntyre, the scoring is official. They've got Matt McIntyre P1, and he in an amazing finish, the closest finish maybe in Duracell Cup Series history, is going to take his first checkered flag of his Duracell Cup Series career, never mind this season. This is going to move him into the top 10 in points as he was 13th in the standings coming into this race, but he takes the checkered flag tonight for the first time ever in his career in an unbelievable photo finish at Texas. Holy cow! Thank you, me, for changing the Texas version. Oh my goodness, that was amazing. And the streak continues. We've now had 11 races with 11 different race winners. Jose Mills was maybe a millimeter away from becoming the first 2-time winner on the season. And Matt McIntyre says, nope, hold on. We're gonna show you your finishing results. But I want to go back to that photo finish. I want to see just how close it was. And can we visibly see a clear advantage between McIntyre and Mills? You can see Ryan Acosta was way back there. Qualls was right up on the back bumper of the 7. That might have been the difference, that draft that Qualls gave McIntyre. And we're going to freeze frame it, frame by frame here, to see if we can tell if McIntyre visibly did beat Mills. There you see it. Just barely. That might actually be because of the Toyota nose sticking out a little bit further than the Ford nose. I don't know, but you can see that McIntyre did get him. But I don't know how close that was. I'm almost certain if we go and take a look at the full finishing results, it's going to say 0.000. I don't see how you can come up with a 0.001 with how close that is. Can our other camera angles give us a better view? You can barely see it right there. If you look at the nose of the 7, it is just a little past the halfway of that line there, of the checkered there, the black and white checkered line. And you can see it's just a tad more covered than Jose Mills. Jose Mills' nose is just about halfway on that line. and McIntyre is just a little past halfway. What about our spectator cam? Okay, we don't really get a good view there because of the fact of the flagman being in the way. That's about the best view you're going to get to be able to distinguish it. But that is unbelievable. All right, let's find out. What is the interval? What is the margin? Is it 0.000 or is it 0.001? Survey says, they say it's 0.001. All right, so it was not quite a dead heat between the two where they had to try and figure out with scoring who it was. They did apparently have a clear winner. That's why they were able to put the 7 to the top of the board so quickly. But, man, I don't think we've had a 1/1000th of a second finish in Duracell Cup Series history. I think this is the first time. That was amazing. That was incredible. And that was a lot of fun. No doubt about it. So Matt McIntyre not only picks up his first career win, first win of the season as well, but it is the second driver out of the Michael Norman Motorsports stables to go to victory lane this season. So great job for him, and he now joins Alexander Rowe, Michael Norman, and Cole Baker as a first-time winner here in the Duracell Cup Series here in Season 2. As I mentioned, Matt McIntyre last week with a great run at Pikes Peak, jumped from 24th to 13th in points, and this win's only going to shoot him higher in the standings. He will be in the top 10 in points heading into next week's race at Darlington Raceway, no doubt about that. But what an unbelievable finish. Look at the rest of your finishing results here. James Qualls. I think, honestly, James Qualls was the difference maker in that photo finish of who got the win. As you can see in this still photo, that he is up closer to Matt McIntyre's back bumper than Ryan Acosta was to Jose Mills' back bumper. Don't know if maybe that was planned. Maybe Ryan Acosta didn't want to push a Ford to the win. He wanted to have a Toyota win this race. Obviously, there's an affiliation with manufacturers there, even though Matt McIntyre, Ryan Acosta, James Qualls drive for different teams. Qualls and Ryan Acosta for Joanna Atwood Motorsports and Matt McIntyre out at Michael Norman Motorsports, but maybe there's an underlying alliance right there where Ryan Acosta did not want to push Jose Mills past another Camry. But Acosta will finish with 4th, so Ryan Acosta, the good finishes continue for him. He will still keep the points lead undoubtedly, but man, when is that team going to find victory lane? It's like they've been so close so many times this season. They've obviously been the most consistent driver because they're up atop the point standings, but they'll have to settle for another top 5 in 4th. Jack Mitchell, great run for him in 5th. Nice to see a driver struggling in the point standings come away with a good run. He was 38th in the points coming in, 39th in the points coming into this one. So a great run for him. Levi McIntyre, we didn't really talk a whole lot about Levi tonight. We talked about him a couple times when he was up battling for the lead, but he did a good job of keeping himself up inside the top 10 as well. And he's struggling in the points, 32nd in the standing, so a great run for him. And I think the Iron Man of this race is Carter Friesen. He got caught up in that follow-up wreck in turn 1 after our first caution flew. He managed to battle back with a damaged race car to 7th place. A great run for him. And that under-the-radar guy, remember I mentioned he's up there in the top 10 in points. We haven't talked a whole lot about him. He's kind of been under our radar. Austin LaPlante, well, guess what? He gets another top 10 run here tonight in 8th. So he will undoubtedly stay in the top 10 in points as well. Cole Baker's going to finish the day out in 9th, a great run for him. The good finish is continuing for him as he realizes his Daytona 500 victory is in the bag. He needs to get consistent finishes to make it into the playoffs, and completing your top 10 was Matthew Rodriguez. How about the comeback of the race? That's got to be Zach Rogers. Rogers got spun on the back straightaway. His spin did not bring out a caution. He got the aid of a caution about 10 laps later and battled back to finish in 11th position. That is an amazing comeback for that driver, a driver that came into this race in the top 10 in points. What a comeback finish. This will keep in the top 10 in points. Ryan Butcher was out in front early on, as was Alexander Rowe. They faded back to 12th and 13th, but still strong performances for them. Keith Batson, great run for him there in 14th. And Benny Watson was up there battling a couple times for the race lead, but he faded back late to the 15th position. The rest of your top 20, William Brock in 16th. Carson Gum faded back. He was up there in the top 10. 17th is where he'll finish. Benjamin Miles in 18th. Kyle Matthews, I think he led the most laps here tonight, and he faded back late to 19th. And Johnny Gardner is going to complete your top 20. Look on down through the remainder of the finishing results from tonight's race, and despite having 2 cautions come out, we did manage to have 32 of our race cars finish on the lead lap out of 36 that finished this race. Maybe the heartbreak of this one was Chris Dallerton, our pole sitter. He was up front, had a very ill-handling race car. Twice we saw him have incidents where he was up on the extreme outside line out of turn 2. That led to some wrecks Obviously, the one we mentioned, the spin with Zach Rogers, and then the later wreck where Dollarton got himself some damage. Wyatt Quayle, this is another poor performance for him as well. 30th in the finishing results, 35th in the points coming to this race. I don't know. Things are looking pretty bleak, at least right now, for a Las Vegas race winner to make it into the playoffs. And remember, he had a win last year at Dover, but he did not finish up inside the top 30 in points, and so he didn't make it into the playoffs. It's looking like a case of deja vu here in Season 2. Driver that finished off the lead lap were Cody Lamas, Seth Cole, Jessica Shelton, and Trey Wright. They all had damage from crashes earlier on, and out of the race were the cars of rookie Marcus Acci, also Matt Haas, Casey Nanico, and Vince Almriego. Matt Haas, 10th in the points coming to this race. Obviously, this is going to be a big blow to him in points. And Marcus Acci and Cody Lamas, they actually were 1-2 in the rookie points battle coming into this race. Lamas had a 4-point advantage over Marcus Acci. Acci finishing out of the race, Lamas finishing a lap down. So you got to wonder with Sebastian Kukulon finishing somewhat further up there in the finishing results here this evening. Where did he finish? Oh, he finished 27th. Who was our rookie of the race? Oh, it was Alexander Rowe. Alexander Rowe finishing in 13th, so you got to wonder if maybe Alexander Rowe will be able to capitalize on that. Even with his win last week at Pikes Peak, Alexander Rowe still came into this one dead last, 6th of the 6 rookies as far as the rookie points battle. So we'll see if maybe this will help get him back into the rookie points battle now as he gets rookie of the race here this evening. I'm rambling on, though, as Matt McIntyre is your winner in what I'm pretty certain we can officially call the closest finished up to this point in the Duracell Cup Series history. Matt McIntyre, best Jose Mills here this evening. We are 11 for 11 in different winners going to victory lane here this year, which means we're going to get close to that conversation of, oh boy, we've got more than 16 different race winners, and there's only 16 playoff positions available. So that's going to be interesting. Next week, we head into one of my favorite races of the year. It is the Throne of Games 500. Anyway, we're going to Darlington Raceway, the Lady in Black, the track Too Tough to Tame. It's got more names than I do, which is probably not possible, but it is going to play host to that race, and you're going to see these drivers decked out with game liveries, and it's going to be a wild race as well. Going to definitely be looking forward to that one. Hope you guys enjoyed tonight's race from Texas, though. If you did, be sure to give us a like, subscribe to become part of the crew today. We have shown you your full finisher results. You can see the photo finish that we had here this evening, and these are the point standings heading to next week's race, if I could talk, at Darlington Raceway. Until then, though, I have been Seth Cole. You've been watching a production of the NNSCRA Offline Racing at its best. So long from the Lone Star State.